Some civilizations, they're just footnotes in the history books. But others, they're the ink the story is written in. For literally thousands of years, a few key revolutionary ideas have been quietly shaping our world. Everything from the numbers we use every day to the very idea of a university. So today, we're going to trace them all back to their source, to the world-changing genius of ancient India. Now, Mark Twain, he wasn't exactly a guy known for over-the-top praise, right? But he called India the cradle of the human race. Just think about that for a second. It's such a powerful idea. It suggests that this isn't just some ancient land, but maybe, just maybe, it's the place that wrote some of the original source code for civilization itself. So let's dive in and see just how deep that code really runs.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this legacy, we've got to start with the idea of endurance. Pure, simple endurance. We're not just going to look at a bunch of ruins. Nope. We're starting with places that are still living and breathing. Places that have seen thousands of years of history and are, incredibly, still here to tell the tale. And that brings us right to the cities. Seriously, forget what you think of as ancient history, dusty ruins and all that. We are talking about urban centers that have been alive for, well, an almost unimaginable amount of time. And we're going to start with one of the absolute oldest on the entire planet.
Okay, so this is Varanasi. We know for a fact it's at least 3,000 years old. But here's the part that's going to bake your noodle. When the Buddha visited about 2,500 years ago, people already thought of it as an ancient city. Just let that sink in. A city so old it was ancient to the ancients. That's a whole other level of old.
And Varanasi wasn't some lone wolf out there. It was actually a contemporary of the incredible Indus Valley civilization. Now, we all hear about Mesopotamia and Egypt in school, right? But the Indus Valley? Well, it was arguably the largest of all of them. And with its crazy, sophisticated grid layouts and sanitation systems, it might have been the most advanced of its time, period. But here's the crucial difference. Here's the kicker. The mighty Indus Valley civilization, it flourished for 2,000 years and then, poof, it vanished. But Varanasi, which was born in that very same era, is still here. It's still alive. It survived. It adapted. It endured. It's a living, breathing connection to a past that is almost impossibly distant.
So what happens when a civilization has that kind of staying power, when it doesn't just disappear? Well, that incredible endurance wasn't just about survival. It created this super stable foundation for something else to grow, knowledge. Ancient India didn't just last, It became a global center for learning that pulled in scholars from all over the known world.
And right at the heart of this knowledge boom were two legendary institutions, two heavyweights. On one hand, you've got Taxila, which many consider the world's very first university, going all the way back to around 700 BCE. And then you have Nalanda, which came later and basically perfected the whole university model, becoming this incredibly organized global hub for higher education.
And to really wrap your head around the scale of a place like Nalanda, just get a load of these numbers. At its peak, it had over 10,000 students, and they weren't just local. They came from as far away as China and Persia. And get this, they were taught by over 1,500 teachers. That's a student-teacher ratio that modern universities can only dream of. And the library? The legendary library had more than 300,000 books and manuscripts. It was just this unbelievable treasure chest of knowledge. And its destruction was, without a doubt, a tragedy for the entire world. But this intense learning environment wasn't just about books and philosophy. No way. It led to some really practical, life-saving breakthroughs. I want you to meet Sushruta, often called the father of surgery. We're talking 2,600 years ago, and this guy was performing complex operations, things like cataract removal and even plastic surgery. And it's all documented in his masterpiece, the Sushruta Samhita. Okay, but maybe the most widespread innovation, the one that literally every single one of us uses every single day, are these symbols right here. We call them the Hindu-Arabic numerals. But have you ever actually, stopped to think about that name, Hindu-Arabic? Because here's the thing, we call them Arabic numerals, but that's really only half the story. That name actually hides this incredible journey of an idea and how it traveled and transformed as it crossed the globe. So here's how it all went down. The system, including the world-changing concept of zero, was invented in India, full stop. Then Arab and Persian scholars saw it.
recognized its absolute genius, and they adopted it. In fact, they specifically called them Hindu numerals. It was only when their books and their knowledge made it to Europe that Europeans saw it and mistakenly called them Arabic numerals. And, well, that's the name that stuck. And look, the impact of this, it's just impossible to overstate. Don't just take my word for it. Albert Einstein himself said that we owe the Indians for teaching us how to count, and that without it, no worthwhile scientific discovery could have ever been made. I mean, think about that. Modern science, he argued, simply couldn't exist without it. So let's just recap for a second. We've got profound knowledge, we've got advanced medicine, we've got revolutionary mathematics, all in one place. You combine that with immense natural wealth, and what do you get? You get a global magnet. Ancient India became this beacon that would, quite literally, change the map of the world. Which, believe it or not, brings us to a pretty surprising person. What on earth could Christopher Columbus, a 15th century Italian explorer, possibly have to do with any of this? It's actually pretty simple. He was looking for it. The entire age of discovery, the epic quest that led Columbus to accidentally bump into the Americas, the whole thing was kicked off by Europe's obsession with finding a direct sea route to the legendary riches of India. Yeah, for centuries, India was known far and wide as the Sone ki Chiriya, which means the golden bird. It was, quite simply, one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. And, of course, that kind of legendary status attracted traders and explorers from everywhere. But a beacon that shines that brightly, well, it also tends to attract a darker kind of attention. Because the thing is, a legacy built on priceless knowledge and incredible wealth, well, it can also be incredibly fragile. Tragically, those great centers of learning we were just talking about, they didn't just fade away with time. Both Taxila and Nalanda were ultimately destroyed by foreign invaders. Their magnificent libraries were burned to the ground, and their grand halls were reduced to the ruins we see today. And it's such a stark reminder that physical things, even libraries full of knowledge, can be destroyed. But the ideas themselves, the concept of zero, the practice of surgery, the very model of a university, they turned out to be much, much more resilient. They survived. Which really leaves us with one last big question to think about. In how many other ways do these incredible innovations, born from a 5,000-year-old legacy, continue to invisibly shape our world every single day?